Are you pricing your house too high to sell? That is today's topic. Hello and welcome to Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I am Jack Wallace. Good to see you guys. So we're going to talk rice.
Which is huge because
What year is it?
It is 2025. It is not 2021.
Thank you.
So many homeowners are wanting to price their homes for that mess of a few years we had where inventory was way down, buyers were way up, and you could charge whatever you want. Those days are gone. Inventory is up. We do have a few more buyers, peeking their head out to take a look, but you need to price your house to sell, and the market is going to tell you what that price is. So let's work through some of the different scenarios.
I want to start by saying we're not saying this because we want to make it easy on ourselves to sell it. We're not saying that because that's the easy route for us. We're saying that because after watching people sit on houses because they were convinced that they could get more. And it was hard to argue because you look at the numbers in the neighborhood and you justify it, but it was on the high side. And that was maybe going back 5 or 6 months ago when they first listed it. Now you're on the second listing and there's been nothing on the radar anywhere near, but they feel like they don't want to bring the price down. And then they wonder why people don't just come in with a bid, basically.
And let's face it, Oklahomans are too nice. We don't want to generally give generally
maybe
few
too
exceptions.
Nice to make an offer, but
yeah,
once you get in the deal, the gloves come off.
Exactly right. But generally, people don't bring a lowball offer because they don't want to hurt the seller's feelings. Mm-hmm. And I've had sellers who have gotten their feelings hurt because what they felt was a lowball offer came in and actually wasn't too far off of where we should be. And then this person countered back higher than the asking price. And clearly we lost that buyer. Yeah. But,
I think it really comes down to right now, too, is that you really have to look at what your goal is. If your goal is you just kind of would like to move, but you really want this price and that's not what the market, then don't put your house on the market right now. Wait. I mean, that's my feeling because I think we will value over time again. I think that'll happen. I think we're in a weird zone right now with interest rates and past interest rates. But, a lot of people are putting them on and then nothing's happening. And then 3 months later, they're over it and want the house off the market. And it's like you waste everybody's time, including your own, doing that. So I think kind of getting realistic from the beginning of whether or not this is the time for you to do it. And let that be, are you willing to take the price the market is dictating? Because, we bring the house to the market and the market brings the price. So let me say that one more time. We bring the house to the market and the market brings the price.
Chances are, if your house isn't selling, it is not because of your agent. Yes, I believe agents should do more.
Unless they're not us.
Yes, exactly. Goes without saying.
That is absolutely your agent.
But, it's the days of just sticking a sign out in the yard and putting it on MLS are gone. So yes, I think you need an agent that is going to go above and beyond. But with that said, if your house is not selling,
yes.
If your house is not selling, it is because of the house, location, or the price.
Can't change the location.
One of those three. So yeah, you can't change the location. And the house, hopefully you've put its best foot forward and it's staged and ready to go. I'm actually seeing for the first time since I've been in real estate. I find this interesting because in the past, if it was the right house or the right location, they were willing to sacrifice on the others. Okay, we'll pay a little more or whatever.
Yeah.
For the first year, I'm seeing people sacrifice house and location for a price they can afford that they think is right.
I was just telling a seller of mine yesterday we were talking about a price reduction. And I said, I'm telling you, I've never seen a market that price is dictated more than this market. I mean, it is absolutely price driven. And, part of it is because in order for people to get shelter at this point and afford it, they got to fight the right price. And they're almost kind of like, I'll buy it now and I'll fix it later, or I'll buy it now and we'll change locations when we can. But I got to get in something at the moment. The other side of it too, though, is that we're also getting to, and a lot of realtors are not going to like me saying this.
Then bring it.
You might not either, but it's actually now getting to where it is cheaper to rent than it is to buy. And that's great in some ways because, I think it's been very hard for people to afford rent. And now it's becoming a little bit more affordable. I'm sure people that are out looking for rental disagree with that, but comparatively, it actually has come down. And then when it comes to the price of a house, the prices haven't come down that much. Interest rates haven't come down that much. Insurance has gone up. Taxes have gone up. And so the cost of owning has increased. I mean, across the board. So we're in a weird zone right now with that.
We're dealing that with Peyton right now.
Yeah.
He wants to buy in Dallas. He has a new job. He's
lived Dallas, in whole other story.
Gosh, Lower Greenville, and now he needs to move closer to Las Colinas, and his rent is outrageous. But as he looks and sees what he can afford, it's not what he thought he could afford. Still lovely homes, but yeah, he's going to have to sacrifice some to do that. So this week we're looking into what's better. Should he just go ahead and lease in Las Colinas, just move to a new lease or buy? Which honestly, I love owning real estate, having
I love
that
owning
investment.
real estate too, but you know what? When you're a young person and in that situation, maybe renting for a while to see if you like Las Colinas before you invest, because quite frankly, we don't know what the market's going to be, like in a bigger market. I think in Tulsa, we're kind of in a great position really still because we haven't bubbled like other areas. I mean, we've never been a bubble market, which is great. And I do see prices coming down a little bit in Tulsa, which is normal. We valued a little higher than we have in the past. So we'll kind of, maybe come down a little bit in some, although the numbers are not showing that, but I'm feeling it. But, a market like Dallas or Houston, Houston has gotten, they're getting cremated right now.
Texas, Florida, California,
it's really hard. Yeah.
all struggling.
The prices are coming down when the Midwest prices are going up a little bit.
And we've been
Oklahoma City, I think, is really increasing. I think Tulsa's kind of flatline.
We seem to be staying about the same, even though, like we were talking about, the numbers show that we've gone up. It still hasn't been that tick up that we've had over the last few years.
It feels like right now they either sell quickly or they sit. There's no in between, which is also why price adjusting is so important. Because I think when you start seeing the writing on the wall in the beginning that it is not selling, making a quick price adjustment gets new demographic buyers. So every time you take it down by $5,000, $10,000, the number of available buyers that you increase and the more searches goes infinitely up.
And I get that you're looking on Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, all of those, and you're seeing what it says. Remember, that is AI generated. There's not a human looking at your house to see what disrepair, what you haven't serviced on your house, or what you have improved.
Which again, we love AI and we think it's very valuable, but there is the touch and the tech that has to combine in real estate.
Exactly right. Yeah. So let's talk about how an agent comes up with the pricing of your house, whether it's what you think your house is worth or what Zillow says it's worth. Let's walk through what that process is, because it's not just pin the tail on the donkey.
Yeah, well, I'm a geek. And I love pricing.
Me too.
I do love pricing. But I think I love it because, statistics was my favorite class in college because it tells the story. Statistics 3 specifically, 1 and 2 struggled with.
I never even took statistics 1, just FYI.
But 3 was really cool to me because it's so funny. I'm a theater guy, but I also love numbers.
Yeah, you're right and left brain.
And math, but math and music go really hand in hand. Anyways, off subject. The Stat 3 I love because it tells that story. What are these numbers? You put all these numbers, all this data into this, and then filter it down, and it tells you something, which is where your Zestimates come in and where those things come in. But like you were saying earlier, okay, but it has a pool, but does it have a above ground pool, or does it have a really, $150,000 backyard mecca pool?
That was built within the last 10 years or so, not the 25-year-old pool.
Is the roof 10 years old or 2 years old? Because at the moment, 10 years can be really problematic with insurance, where 2 years, you're a little bit easier. Those things, all of that comes into play. So what I've started doing personally, and I think you probably do the same thing, is there's a number of different data points. I mean, different programs, different places you can go where you can put in the address and then filter in a bunch of information like we're talking about, and then let it come up with pricing. And then I also go in and do a CMA the old traditional way, and I come up, and then between those 3 or 4 reports, that price is showing a range. And again, then you have to pinpoint in that range, is the market hot enough to where you can go on the higher end and still get showings? Or is it a cool market where you really need to go on the lower end and hope maybe people will come in and even maybe bid up? But you got to find that range. And that range in some neighborhoods can be big. It can be a very big range. And in some neighborhoods, it can be a very small band.
And looking at a variety of information for the agent is really important, not just doing comps for your neighborhood, but looking at pulling an RPR report, a canary report. The more information you can get in,
Yeah.
and specifically, and I get this all the time from people, it has to be apples to apples. So if you have a house that is the biggest or smallest in the neighborhood, and there's not really any other house that compares to yours, yes, we're going to have to go outside that neighborhood to look. And if you're on land, we may have to go quite a bit around
Sure.
to be able to find
Sure.
something that is like your property, depending on the property. So there is a science that goes into pricing your house and getting that information and taking that information. And once you have that range,
Yeah.
looking at, okay, so is my house in disrepair, or is it one of the best ones on the block?
And boy, that's a tough one though too, because that's counting on the person who owns the house seeing it as it is.
So my mother, who was in her house for 50 years, and the last time it was remodeled was the 1980s, she would have told you it was on the higher end. It was not.
And it was in 1980.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of like, I worked for a really high-end designer for years in the late 80s, early 90s. And it's funny because I'll go into houses now and I'm like, I remember ordering this wallpaper and it was like great, expensive wallpaper, but it's like, that was in 1992.
Yeah.
And now it is like not good. I mean, it's just, it's so, but to that person, they still love it, which is good. They should love it. But it's like, you have to go, okay, but this is not where people are right now. Or, sometimes people get lucky and it recycles back. Like I'm going to houses now and I walk in kind of going, oh no. And they're like, oh my God, I love it. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
That's why I don't say anything until I hear
and
what you say first.
It's your house, your purchase. Is not my business to put my taste on you. And that, you're hiring me as your decorator or designer. That's one thing. But as your realtor, it's, unless it's a resale value, like there's a resale issue, sure. But in general, so you really do have to kind of look at it, but like, where is the pulse of the market? And so like, again, for you and I, though, we have to realize, those 80s houses with the rock and the brown panelings, like those are popular again. So it's like, for you and I, we'd be like, you got to paint this. You got to like, well, now wait, what has sold in that neighborhood? And did it have that? And does that bringing a premium? Like, it's not just what everybody else. I mean, it's like all of us have to like come to terms with that.
And if you do repairs, let's say you put in $150,000 pool, you cannot add $150,000 to the price, because you spent that money on that and you want to make sure the next person pays for that pool. If you remodel,
but if you put like a $30,000 new bathroom added onto your house, you probably could get that for it. I mean,
on certain things, and especially if you did $30,000 on your bathroom and took the bathtub out and made a huge shower, and yes, it's pretty, but you've just narrowed it down to everybody who can only take a shower.
Well, if you remodeled it, then there's very little. I'm saying like adding an extra bathroom.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like some of those substantial changes to the property, increasing the square footage and the functionality of it. That's a whole other level. But
putting in a whole master suite, I mean, that's clearly going to add square footage and that kind of thing.
If you do any kind of remodeling, go ahead and have really good inspections on the plumbing and the electric before you house, because there's nothing worse than having all new everything and then realizing you have a major issue with your plumbing. By the way, everybody should have, not everybody, anyone who has a little bit older home, it's a brand new house, I don't think you need this, but that insurance for the sewer and water line, you should have it. You really should have it. Like my sewer's backed up, so they're coming on Thursday, but I have full coverage. They will replace my sewer line from my house to the sewer, which if you've ever done that, like I had to do that in another house, and it was $13,000. I mean, this one won't be that expensive, but it's,
and like, that's not money you get back if you turn around and sell your house.
And I mean, it is zero deductible. And if you're somebody who is trying to sell a house and you have that, there's a 30-day waiting period. But if you have it in place and then in the inspection, they find an issue with the sewer line, then you have coverage for that.
Sure.
It's one of the few insurance. I don't know how long they'll keep doing
is that for on your homeowner's insurance?
It's a separate thing. And for a while they were sending it with, it's like Home Service Line of America or something. But for a while they were sending it with your utility that you could sign up for it.
Oh, very cool.
And it is so worth it because I mean, even, we had like the whole roof insurance thing discussion not too long ago, but like, I mean, now you're getting 2.5% and 3% of the value of the house as your deductible and only getting certain coverage. Like it's getting to where you don't have as much coverage with insurance as you used to have. So like something like that, which is a major system and it's not in your house, it's from your house to the sewer line. But if your house was built in 1959, 1960, those are probably near the end of their usefulness.
And tree roots growing right through them. I mean, you guys have massive
and of course trees. It happens when I have Kristen staying with me. Shower backs up.
God has a great sense of humor.
That was fun. Yeah. So, but it was, again, it didn't get so bad that I couldn't, sort of function. But,
right.
But yeah, liquid Drano for a few days helped.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, but again, thank God I had that insurance because that's really, it's like $9 a month, but best $9 a month ever because they're going to come out and fix it. So
another one
subject, but that is like, those are the kind of things people really do need to know about because like you just don't know and you don't do it. But when it kicks you in the butt, it is hard.
One of the things that drives me crazy is when somebody says, oh, I realize my house is worth this. I want to price it higher so I have room to negotiate.
It's also difficult, Cindy, but it's also difficult when you're in a neighborhood like that has that high range.
Agreed.
Because like there's an argument to it. I always say, if we're going to do that, we have to set a time limit. Like, I think that's really where you have to get into the time limit of like, let's try that for a week. If you get no response,
I do 2 weeks.
Yeah. If you get, and that's probably more fair, but if you get no response, then we need to be already planning out how far we're going to, because you just don't want to lose that beginning momentum.
That first month, especially the first 3 months, critical.
Yeah. Critical. I mean, we're getting to where there's higher days on market in general than there were. And so you're not punished as much for higher days as you used to be, as long as it doesn't become way over the top in number, you know what I mean? But yeah, because then it's the same thing with having a house fall and come back. People go, well, why hasn't it sold?
And I always put in bold letters, if it is true, at no, what's the word I'm looking for? At no fault of the seller, this home is back on the market, because
people just don't believe it. I mean, they don't,
I'm like,
although I think they're starting to, I think they are starting to believe it because there's just so much of it. Like I just had one neighborhood where I had that happen, and like 3 other houses in the same neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that sells and is really, but they all had the same thing happen. Like to the point where we're like, is it the same person? And it was different people.
And we've said it before and we'll say it again. Do not put a contract in on a house unless this is something that you 100% want to buy, unless inspections turn up something wrong.
Yeah. But that even comes down to if you're the seller and the seller's agent, like it's so easy to get caught up in just getting a contract. But do you really just want a contract, or do you want a serious person who really wants that house? Like I don't know. I think we get into like, just get it on paper. Let's just get down the road. But it's like that can really mess you up.
Right.
Like you need to really do some due diligence, and people deserve inspections. Inspections are important. Buyers back out for the right reason. And sellers aren't always realistic about what needs to be done and fixed. And that's, the buyer why would the buyer buy your problem?
Right.
So it's like, we make it sound like it's always just these poor sellers that are just taking advantage of. I mean, there are a lot of times when the buyer has put in money for inspections, money for appraisal, and then they have to walk away, and then they have another house they got to find. Then they got to go through the same process, and they may be like having to be out of their house in 30 days, and doing, like, it's not easy for them either.
No.
So I think as a seller, you need to also be ready that if something is found, you got to fix it.
Because then,
I mean, if it's a big
now
thing, you got to
know,
fix it.
if it's your plumbing, now you know there's a problem with your plumbing. Now you're going to have to put that on
Right.
your disclosures.
Right. I mean, it gets tricky. I understand. There's times when it's tricky because one person says it's a problem and another inspector says it isn't. So then it
Sure.
comes down to, you just got to figure out whether or not you want to not sell it and gamble on the next person, or keep the house. I mean, anyway, there's all kinds of the things that go with that, but it's like somebody who just kind of decides on a whim to, I'm done, I'm out, not doing this. That's so awful. It's really awful. I mean,
yes, it is. So when you have a house on the market, and you've priced it, everybody agrees it's priced where it should be. A future price reduction, and I usually say a price adjustment, because you're adjusting to the market. Sometimes you may have to do a price adjustment because the market is telling you, even where you have it, we've gotten it down to where we really feel like this is what your house is worth, and you're not having any showings, or you're having some showings, no offers, then chances are the market is telling you you are still too high, even though that's what the numbers tell you.
And what's funny to me about that is people don't really understand that to a certain degree. And I always think, well, look at your stock portfolio, because, we've become a gamification society. And I mean, I do it all the time. Like, my friend Dave and I joke, because it's like, don't check the stock market today. I mean, I'll send it to, do not check the stock market today. Just don't even look. It's terrible. You're going to be unhappy. Or I'm like, hey, have you looked at Roblox? I mean, like, but my point is that we become, so attuned to the up and the down and the up and the down. And it's, real estate is the same thing, except it's more rolling. And so it's not something you can go on your phone and go, oh, today it's down 5%, tomorrow it's up 7%, but it is doing the same thing based on the market. And so, I think it's just where it is. And the more realistic you can be, I always think it's like therapy. The more realistic you are about it, the more happy you're going to be with the results. So again, if you just don't want to sell your house, and if you're only going to get a certain number and that number is unrealistic, don't put your house on the market.
No.
Don't waste your time, because it's not a fun process to sell your house.
And if somebody wants, maybe not needs, but they want to sell their house for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Let's say it's,
and I'm not discouraging people from selling their house.
No,
not
of course
all.
not.
Yeah.
But let's say, it's been on 6-9 months, a year, and it hasn't sold. Are you big in taking it off for 3 months to sort of reset the clock? See, I'm not either.
Depends, but no, in general, no. I mean, I think it's one of those things like that, to me, says, if you're going to do that, I think you're better off to just maybe take it off the market for a year. Because what if you take it off for that 3 or 6 months and the perfect buyer comes in? I mean, if it's a unicorn house, or it's a house that's going to take a specialty buyer, that buyer just may not be in the market today. But if you take it out for 3 months or 6 months, then that buyer does come into the market, they're going to buy something else, and you're going to have missed them. And then when you come back in, they're gone again. So, the market goes in 3 month cycles. So like, typically the buyers that are out right now are going to be out for another, 3 months. And then it's a whole different group. So basically within one listing period, you go through 2 cycles of buyers. So it's kind of an interesting thing, because the only thing you're seeing is that accumulative days on market number. Now, let's say you've had the house off the market for 45 days, then is it worth it maybe to wait a little bit longer and then do it where you would have that 90 days? Yeah, I mean, maybe that's not a bad idea if you're already kind of days off the market anyways.
But also, people are savvy. They're going to look on Zillow and go, oh, look, they took it off. They took it off the market for 3 months.
There's too much information. That's a really good point.
Reset it.
There's just too much information. It's not like it used to be, where basically they looked at the sheet and they took the sheet's word for it. Like, this house has been on the market for 2 days. Like, now they go, let's learn about this house. And it's like one one Google search of that address and you can see where it's been, what it has been. Yeah. So
And the good thing about a price adjustment, because I've had people who are like, I'm not going to do any price adjustments. Okay. One good.
How's that again?
Okay.
Okay.
One good thing about a price adjustment is on MLS, it puts your house again at the top of MLS, and people who have
Hot sheet. Yeah.
people who have saved your listing, let's say on Zillow or realtor.com,
Get a bump.
will get a ping saying, hey, price adjustment. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to go in and reduce it by $100. Like it needs to be a really good price adjustment for people to sit up and pay attention. But a price adjustment is not a bad thing. You're adjusting for the market. And like you said, it's turning over every 3 months. So who knows who you'll get that house in front of.
I think people are sort of afraid of showing blood in the water, and they don't want to do that because it makes it look like, oh, then people are going to think I'm desperate. Well, you're wanting to sell your house. I think it's sending a message. You're willing to make the adjustment that's needed within realm of getting the house sold. So to me, I think it's more saying, it's kind of, this is how I describe it. You're pre-negotiating.
Yes.
So you're basically saying, it's like a reverse offer almost to the public, saying, okay, you didn't like it at this price. What do you think of this price? Go. Let's see what happens. So I do think it's interesting too. Like I just did a price reduction on something, and I got 2 people that came through and had the realization that they were people that came through in the very beginning open houses. And now they're back and they're in a different place as far as where they are in selling their house and buying, and they suddenly are interested, but they were actually sniffing around at the beginning, but now that it's gotten to this price and they're kind of in a realistic place, they came back. So I think it's very interesting that people really, they kind of pay attention to something along, and that kind of goes back to your 90-day thing, because this house was past 90 days. So it was worth having on the market and making the price adjustments. They go, I did like that house, but I didn't like it at that price, or I wasn't ready at that time to do it. So I think, but I think everyone's a little too concerned about the perception, and they're not as concerned about the reality, because the reality is, like, I don't think there's a problem with a Mercedes that they bring the price down when I know it hasn't sold for a couple, like they try to get a higher price, they didn't get it, they bring it down. I don't think that, like, isn't like, oh, it has engine problems. You know what I mean? Like it's, oh, the market wasn't buying it. So I think it's the same thing. I think people look at that same in houses. I think it's more problematic almost when you've had it on the market and it sold and then comes back on, because you're fighting what happened. Then I think taking the price down affects that. I think that's just where the market is, especially like we're seeing price reductions across the board. I mean, the market is definitely trying to find itself. It's either things sell within a day or 2 or a week, or we're seeing price reductions.
We want you to get the most for your house. That is, listing a property, we want to make you the most money possible, but that has to be a realistic number for 2025, not 2021.
And what is your objective? Is your first objective to get it sold as quickly as possible, or is your first objective to get as much money as possible? Now,
that's kind of hard in 2025.
People take a different tact on that, but it's like I do like knowing which were those objectives is the most important to you, because then it does say, okay, if that's the case, then maybe we go a little bit higher than I would have liked at the beginning, and then take that couple of weeks. But if you're like, I have a house I want, and if I don't get this sold, I can't have it. Okay, let's go at the best price you can do and just negotiate the heck out of this and try to get you that price and get the market revved up for you.
And if somebody brings you an offer, even if you feel it's a lowball offer, remember, an offer is a place to start. At least we're having the conversation. If you don't have an offer, you can't even have the conversation. And if you will at least counter back something realistic, most of the time I have seen those work out, unless it's somebody who's just looking for a used car and they just want to pay rock bottom and they're not going to pay. They're not going to take the house anyway.
Well, I'm grinning for a couple of reasons. First, I'm grinning because of when you say when you feel, how you feel doesn't really matter, guys. I'm sorry.
It does not. It does not pay your
Us.
mortgage.
It matters to us as your agent.
Mhm.
We want you to feel good about it. We want you to, but like somebody buying your house, they don't care how you feel about it. They don't. Like, I mean, they can be gracious and kind and nice and like feel like, oh, I'd love to honor them, but at the same bottom, they want the best price for the house that they want. I mean, that's
Right.
what they feel. So they're trying to get that. I think it's also amazing how many times sellers say, well, why won't people just bring an offer? And then I get an offer and then they're so insulted. I'm like, you said, why didn't they? Like, you can't have it both ways. They offered. Now let's be realistic and counter back. I will say sometimes if somebody comes in so much lower than what I know the seller is going to want to do, I would suggest maybe we don't come down as much as we would have because you got to learn whether this person is really fishing or really interested, because
they
you're
might
giving a lot of information out to the public in a way by saying to that person, well, we will take this.
And they might like haggling. I mean, I made reference to used car, but literally I had somebody come in and make an offer on a house that was so low ball.
And I
Like I
love
said,
to negotiate.
oh, me too.
Yeah.
But with this offer was so low, and this seller really was upset over it. And I said, okay, it's still a place to start. And he's like, nope, not even going to take them as a serious person. So when I told the other agent that, he said, wait, you're not going to counter back? And I said, nope, he's done. And he said, okay, well, actually, I'm dealing with somebody who has had used car dealerships and they're used to haggling.
Yeah.
So they just wanted to see if they could get it for this. Okay, we're going to give you a contract that's just right under asking.
I mean, sometimes like people say, I don't want to counter. I say, you're going to counter, but what we're going to do is counter back at list price.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do that very often. I don't suggest it very often, but it's never a hell no. Like you do it and they're really going to stick with their price, but they so appreciate your person. I mean, like, if you're truly willing to walk away from it, but like if you really feel like that person's just not going to come to the table, then yeah, I mean that's a fair thing. But I think it really is that whole, like, that goes back to whenever I always make the joke, but I don't joke. This is true. Whenever a seller says to me, you go back and you tell them blah, 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 blah.
I'm not going to tell them that.
Okay. And I go back and I said, so my seller would like to say blah, 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 blah. So I say the same thing, but I don't say it with the same tone. Like, I think.
And probably put it through Chat GPT to take some of the emotion out of it. And yeah.
I don't know. From snark to polite, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good Chat GPT myself on that. Sometimes from polite to snark, I have a little issue with. But no, but I think it's because honestly, like, you're your own worst enemy when you start getting into, like, they're the enemy. And it's always funny to me too, like how quickly someone who's trying to bring you money to buy your house becomes the enemy in a negotiation. I'm like, wait a minute. They are trying to bring you money to cash you out of this house so you can go on, and you're making them instantly into the enemy.
Right.
Now, I understand if they start being weird or doing things that you get upset, but like to start out with the energy that they are the enemy is a not great place to start your negotiation.
Agreed.
Because people feel that. I mean, I think they really do. And then suddenly they go, well, if he can be like that, I can be like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you set the tone a lot of times with how people are. Now, if someone's trying to walk, like you said, if they come in so low, they're just basically trying to walk away and walk over you, then I mean the tone can be not playing.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not a game, and we're
just too far apart. It's like if they come in 100,000 under in a $400,000 house, and your person feels like they're priced fairly, we're just too far apart. Like that's just not. Yeah, it's not a fire sale.
Right. And we're not in
unless it's a fire sale, then you might go, sure, we'll take it.
Yeah, we're not in Mexico negotiating over trinkets. You know what I mean? It's America, and it really doesn't always work that way. Yeah. So people have asked a price because honestly, that's what they think their house is worth. That's why not overpricing it is so key if you truly want to sell it.
Oh, absolutely. But and I think it's just basic. I mean, we make it more complicated than it is because we're emotional and it's our house and we raised our kids there and we've been happy there, or we've been miserable there and we just want out. I mean, like all those things that go into a house. And that's where I just think it's so different than other purchases and so different than other sales. Like, and I think that's really important to remember. These people are not stepping into your life. They're buying your house.
Yep.
So just because
for whatever
all
reason
of this happen in this house, that does not mean that's going to happen to them in this house. Like they are not coming in and picking up with your misery or your happiness or whatever. They're bringing their own life in.
You may be selling your home because you've gotten a divorce. They may be buying your home because they just had a new baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's also funny too, because like, I know you feel this, like, when you go into some house and you're showing and it just has that energy of like a divorce or the energy of like loss it's hard to overcome that energy. I mean, it's an interesting thing how that energy does kind of permeate into the house.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if somebody has all of their closet, like if it's all one side, the clothes are all on one side and the other one has just, I'm like, let's spread your clothes out.
Yeah.
Let's not make it
It's
so
either divorce or
obvious, that like this just kind of happened. I mean, you have to sort of think about that because people, they don't even know they're picking up on energy, but they do pick up on that energy.
Okay, so on that, I'm going to say something.
I know that's way off subject.
No. Now that we've gone down this rabbit hole, I just had my buyer asked me this the other day. Ask the sellers if anyone has died in the house.
They have to put it in writing.
Okay. Exactly. Guess what? In Oklahoma, and I hear this all the time. Well, they have to tell you if somebody died. No, they didn't.
Don't.
No, they don't.
When I first started in real estate when I was 18, you did.
But you don't anymore.
But then people got sued, and now you can ask, but you have to ask in writing, and then they can either yes or no.
And so the buyer is going to ask in writing
they can either
to the
answer
seller,
or not. Yeah.
and then the seller can decide whether they want to answer back. Here's the deal. If you're in Midtown and it's a 100-year-old house and you've owned it for 5 years, you have no idea. Mm-hmm. I had a home where a murder was committed. And
that's usually what people are trying to like.
Exactly,
I mean, like, a lot of people die in hospice situations. I mean, like some people, no, not at all. But like, hospice or, whatever. But like when it's a suicide or a murder that can add, a connotation. But, the sad thing about that to me is like the poor people left behind, like,
it's not their fault
because it's not their fault,
and it's not the house's fault.
No,
that's the thing with this.
If that's something that freaks you out, it freaks you out.
And we actually had people who said, okay, this freaks us out, we're not going to buy it. And the sellers were like, totally get that. Mm-hmm. Let you out of your contract. Here's your earnest money back. It's during that period where they could do that.
Yeah.
But it is not true that somebody has to tell you if someone died in the house. So I always tell my clients, if they're really concerned about that, Google the address. Look at the
sometimes
news,
that shows,
Google the
sometimes
address.
it doesn't,
sometimes it doesn't.
But see, like, okay, I will just be really honest because this is about getting real. So John chose to end his life and he did not do it in our house. But I feel like if someone were buying my house, I would want them to ask so that I could say that is not the case. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Because like I think a lot of people have no idea whether he did or didn't, and I think that leaves a question mark. Well, did that happen? So whenever you go to sell it, then people will say, "Well, I mean, like,
right?"
It's interesting, and I think that it's just the psychological impact is real, but it's like you just don't know, and so I do think it's fair if that bothers you. I think it's fair to ask the question of the other party, and then they can, if they don't answer, and if they don't answer, they've kind of answered in a way, but
and they may not know. I mean,
yeah, and that's very fair too. Like
the older the house,
and I think the question is basically, since you've owned it, has somebody, or was it ever said to you that somebody? But I mean,
and if it gives you the heebie-jeebies, it gives you the heebie-jeebies. Totally get that. But if something happened in the house and somebody passed away, it's not the house's fault.
Well, I always tell people too, you sleep in a hospital room when you're at the hospital. Pretty good chance someone's died in that room.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's just, I think it's one of those things, like you just have to kind of, I think you got to get past it to a certain degree, but I mean, it's hard. It's very difficult. I mean,
if that's a thing for you, I totally get it.
It can really impact a sell. And that's just, Yeah. And then these poor people have had to deal with what they had to deal with.
Yeah.
And then they're having to deal with that on top of it. I mean, it just breaks your heart because it's like, yeah. But
Yeah.
you know,
So anyway, we're going to crawl back out of the rabbit hole, but I think
okay. So then
I'm
let's go
asked
to
that
that
all
with
the time.
pricing. Let's go to that with pricing. I mean,
Okay.
that's a prime example. Okay. So you've had a house in the market for a long time that the public knows something like that happened, which that happens.
Mm-hmm.
They know that happened. Okay. So what do we do? Well, at a certain point, guess what? Price is going to make the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to be blunt, but if, like we said, you got to get real. People will overlook it at a certain price point.
And
it sucks, but that's the reality.
We had a double murder just down the street from us, unfortunately.
It's terrible.
And yeah. And I think the saving grace for the family, if there is one, it was in 2020. And so they did do a price reduction, and that's when homes were flying off the market.
Mm-hmm.
And in 3 weeks, it was snapped up by somebody who didn't care about that.
Yeah.
So, but generally in a regular market, it may impact it, especially if it's something fresh.
And you know what? Let's just be honest. For somebody, when the price goes down, it is an opportunity for them to live in a neighborhood, to live in a house that they would like, that they can afford. So, I mean, it's where, again, the market is meeting price and price is meeting market, because you've got a market of people who are like, you know what? I'll live with that if I can get it for this price.
And what you learned in junior high.
Because they have to go around and sell it,
mm-hmm.
and it still has that psychological impact then when they go to sell it.
So bottom line with pricing your house, it goes back to what we all learned in junior high.
Get real.
Supply and demand.
Sure, absolutely.
Supply and demand. And your house is going to be worth more or less depending on that supply and demand, depending on interest rates. And there are a lot of different things there.
It's an art more than it is a science, mm-hmm. but you have to have a whole lot of science when it comes to numbers to tell you how to make the art.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's where you get in that left and right side of the brain, like mm-hmm. we were talking about earlier, because it's like, you got to get all of these data points and put it all together, but then you got to use your brain to go, okay, so that one has been redone, but it was redone 3 years ago. And now, I mean, is that comparable? You know, like right. all those things. And it's daunting. But, yeah. And then the other thing too is you can't explain when people walk into a house and feel like they're home. Like, mm-hmm. you know, you do this. When I show houses.
I love buyers when that's the house.
And you go, oh, okay, we're going to write an offer. Like you can show buyers house after house after house after house. And it's like, okay, we are not getting anywhere. And then they walk in one, you go, okay. Like they walk in and you can just feel them feel like they're home. And it doesn't make any sense sometimes. Like it doesn't necessarily, you know, a lot of times I'm pretty good about, you know, we kind of call ourselves an adoption service. Like you go, you're going to like this house. Like you just kind of get that feeling. But
it's like the puppy in the litter.
There's no rhyme mm-hmm. or reason. And even the people who go, I have no idea why I like this, but I love this house.
Oh yeah.
It just feels like home. It's just what happened when I bought my house.
And even when I just had a perfect example. Buyers, they had looked at a house, had been in an open house quite a long time ago. The house has been on the market for quite a while. And we've been looking at houses and they just hadn't found anything. That price finally went to a price. They had a price adjustment. Suddenly that house was attractive. And within 24 hours, we went and saw it and put an offer in on it. So pricing.
That tells you right there, though, like you open the demographic buyer to when you open the prices up. I mean, mm-hmm. it's just where we are. I mean, and in 3 or 4 months, if interest rates go down, we could be going back up. I mean, but interest rates could stay where they are for a long time or go up too.
And every time somebody says interest rates are going up, interest rates are going down, you don't know.
Well,
we can guess.
Even down
educated
to
guess, maybe.
And a lot of that, when people were saying, go ahead and do the adjustable rate and then you can refinance. And now here we are and they can't. I mean, the rate is still high. So, I mean, it's like, you got to really be comfortable when you go in. You need to be comfortable when you go in. So the price is going to meet the payment you want based on the interest rates.
I would like for us to get under 6%, just a little bit under 6%.
I mean,
I think we'll see not the floodgates open, but I think we'll see a lot more buyers stepping in. But that seems like that 6 is, you know,
I think the floodgates.
A little hard
I
for
think
some
the
people to swallow.
Floodgates would open, but I think, again, it's just we still have so many people that are still in that locked in those low 3% interest rates. I mean, it's going to be real. It's going to take time to come down from that. But like, we got to start getting more houses for first time buyers. Like, we just some more affordable stuff. So, but I do think the interest rates are going to make a big difference. And I think we're going to see some movement. I think it's going to fluctuate like anything. I think we'll, the one thing we kind of know is we'll probably get some dip downs and some backups and some dips. So like people kind of being there ready to go when they dip down, that's again, your house should be on the market in 90 days, because what if interest rates dip down for a month? And that's when people go, oh, I can afford this house now. And then they go back up. I mean, it's not just like it used to be. Like, there can actually be fluctuations in the interest rates, and then your price points come down. And then that's the perfect marriage for that buyer at that moment to make that happen. Where if you're 60 days longer or 30 days longer, it doesn't exist.
This may be one of my favorite podcasts. I feel like we touched on so many things on pricing and why that is so important.
Yeah, it is important. And again, I think that there's a perception that, and I think a lot of people do this in our business, but it's like, just get the price down, because they can't think of anything else to do. I'm not always the biggest advocate on price reduction, but in this market, that is what we're seeing as an effective plan when everything else is exhausted.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, I've done price reductions on houses where we have not had a showing in 2 weeks and gotten 4 showings in a day. Like, there are people sitting right underneath that price ready to go that have exhausted everything in that lower price point. So suddenly you bring it in and they're like, got to see it. And if you think about it, if you were a little bit at the higher price point and now you've come down, and then they're like, oh, this is new to my market, and look, it was this price and now it's this price, it actually kind of gives them like, I'm getting a deal.
Right.
So it can be psychologically, like you're talking about the negative psychological, it can be a positive psychological for that buyer that's looking to go up a little bit aspirationally.
That's exactly right. Oh, yeah, I liked this one. I feel like there was a lot of good nuggets in there.
Stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, everybody have a great week. Have no clue what we're talking about next week. We'll figure that out.
We never have a problem talking.
No, we don't.
Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for listening.